Hey, I am Reese Zulke, and you are on another episode of Conversations Over Coffee with Occupational Therapists. Today, the discussion at hand will be the Empower Act of 2019, and we'll be having several different OTs on the show today to discuss a couple topics of the Empower Act, what it's doing, the purpose, where it's at in the legislature process. Once again, I'm your host, Reese Zulke, and we will first be introducing Jan Schakowsky, who will be discussing topics on the origination and the history of the Empower Act. So without further ado, Jan Schakowsky.
Hi Reese, my name is Jan Schakowsky, and I currently serve in the House of Democratic Leadership as Senior Chief Deputy Whip. And so in Congress, I focus on healthcare as well as senior issues, but I am best known for my leadership roles and passing the historic Patient Protection and Affordable Healthcare Act, along with the Empower for Healthcare Act of 2019.
Great to have you. So Jan, first, how did the Empower Bill originate?
So the Educating Medical Professionals and Optimizing Workforce Efficiency and Readiness, otherwise known as the Empower for Healthcare Act of 2019, was a bill that was created by me and fellow Congressman Michael Burgess to address many issues in America's healthcare system. So the Empower for Healthcare Act reauthorizes programs under Title VII of the Public Service Act to support disparities in public health, geriatric, and pediatric workforces. So the bill really aims to build a culturally competent workforce of healthcare professionals that can meet the needs of individuals in both rural and urban underserved communities as the nation's population of aging and diverse individuals continues to grow. So really, the Empower for Health Act addresses the needs for health professionals as the nation faces wide shortages of individuals competent in providing health care for these very diverse populations.
So having said that, just a brief description, who does the Empower Act, who does it cover? What's the purpose of the Empower Act?
So this bill really helps both institutions as well as individuals in accessing previous scarce resources in order to bridge the gap in our nation's lack of healthcare providers by allocating funds for training programs within institutions, as well as providing scholarships, loans, and fellowships to individuals, helping to address this disparity in our nation. So without these funds, vital education programs would be unable to operate, and future healthcare workers would not have the access to the training programs that they require, nor would they be able to afford the often incredibly high price of tuition at various medical schools. So that's kind of who it supports.
And as always, a pleasure to have you on the show, Jan. So next to talk on the Empower Act, we're going to have another OT. This will be Madison Nielsen, who is a co-worker of Jan, and she'll be discussing topics of what it covers and the concepts of the bill. So if you could just introduce yourself a little bit.
My name's Madison, as you've said, and I am a worker of Representative Janice Stankowski, and I've been with her during this whole time of the Empower Act.
Okay, so it's mentioned the bill covers training and diversity programs. What exactly is this referring to?
So the Empower Act as a whole provides funding for different programs to engage in education training for healthcare workers, as well as diversity training. So the first part of the bill kind of broke down into allocating funds to certain places such as primary care, pediatric and public health dentistry, just to kind of get those funds in so they're able to provide education and diversity training. The second part of the bill kind of allocated funds for enhancing the geriatric workforce. The third part of the bill kind of gave more funding for loan repayments for people who have entered specific pediatric specialties, and all within the bill you're able to find out if you're eligible or not to get compensation for pursuing an education in those pediatric specialties. And then lastly, which is a more newer one because it wasn't a part of the original Public Service Health Act, and that is the program geared to increasing work diversity in the profession of physical therapy, occupational therapy, audiology, and speech language pathology, which helps keep that workforce diverse, as well as granting students scholarships and grant money in order to pursue those type of professions. The Empower Act was introduced May 16th of 2019 to the House by Representative Janice Schakowsky. By October 28th, the House passed it by voice vote, and then by the 29th of October, Senate had the bill. However, we didn't hear anything until March 27th of 2020 and that the bill was signed into law underneath the Coronavirus Relief Aid and Economic Security Bill.
Great, thank you. It's really good having you. Next we'll have on the show is Brianne Smith, who is another OT, and she'll be talking about what this bill means for occupational therapy and just kind of giving some background information on who it's going to help, what it means to the field, a little bit more.
Thank you, Reese. I am Brianne Smith, and I have been an occupational therapist for the past 3 years.
This is not your first time on the show. We've actually had Brianne on the show a couple other times in the past to talk about different legislature movements, what it means when it goes through legislative processes, things like that. So, Brianne, what does this bill mean for those in the field of OT?
Essentially, it is a geriatrics workforce enhancement program that maximizes the patient and family engagement as well as improving health outcomes by integrating the geriatrics with the primary cares with other specialties. So it is also a creation of new workforce diversity program in the profession of occupational therapy. And some of the areas that it really affects for OT is that it helps transform clinical environments into helping ensure trainees are well provided with the systems that are needed. It also helps with creating and developing community programs which provide older adults and their families with the knowledge to improve their health outcome skills and also the quality of care that they are given. It also helps provide Alzheimer's disease and related dementia education to the families and caregivers for those older adults. That is really important for occupational therapy because part of our job is to help educate, advocate, and also help with the community. So if we can help in those aspects for this bill, it really helps with our profession. But these are just a few ways that this can affect the occupational therapy profession. There are way other ones. But these also help us with patient satisfaction, patient and client communication, relationships. So overall, this is just a really great bill for occupational therapy, and it helps in a lot of areas.
So advocating this knowledge for those growing up, those with elderly who are experiencing these kinds of symptoms, and coping mechanisms to help them provide for those individuals when they start feeling ill and to take care of their loved ones when times are tough. I think it's really important. So it's been really nice having you on the show.
Thank you, Reese, for having me. It was a pleasure to be on.
And next time on the show, we're going to talk about cars. How hot is too hot? Legislative Public Service Announcement class tries to do recording in a hot car, and it does not go as planned. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.